Let's now turn to Democratic strategist Steve McMahon and Republican strategist Phil Musser. You want to trash a few Democrats first, or you want me to get Steve to trash a few Republicans? Where do you want to start?
Wherever you want to start is great, Joe.
It's hard to figure out who's who a lot of times here. Okay, let me start with you. You're the Republican, right?
I'm the Democrat.
You're the Democrat?
Yeah.
You were nodding and listening like I knew what was going on.
I think
Steve's a good guy,
brilliant.
though. Steve's a good guy.
John is brilliant, and his analysis is spot on. I mean, this thing is all over but the tears, although you're starting now to see a lot of tears. It's a little late. It proves that the establishment in the Republican Party...
I thought you were laughing when off camera when Hillary was talking about the rule of law, and I said, well, I'm glad...
I was actually laughing at your cynicism.
Yeah, I was saying, I'm so happy that she's now pushing the rule of law. It's really good to see that...
Democrats believe in the rule of law, Joe.
It's the laws that they kind of consider important. Okay, Phil, Kasich and Rubio, and take your pick. We have John Kasich on today. What should I ask him? Should I say, hang in there, buddy, and people that are giving him money, is this helpful? Who's it helpful for?
I think you've got to ask him just kind of what the viable path forward is. I mean, Harwood set it up really, really well. But the results last night were, you know, there was a little glimmer of hope for Marco Rubio with some of this, you know, some of these late-breaking voters. The messaging of the last week wasn't particularly good for Trump, but nonetheless, he had a blowout win.
Steve's laughing again.
He had a blowout win. So, I mean, I think you got to ask him the path. I mean, his plan, I think, is to bank it all in Ohio and then basically try and have this thing winnowed to two guys. And I don't know that that's a plausible. I don't know that's a plausible scenario at this point in time.
Phil, do you remember that movie, Monty Python, where the guy is standing in the ravine with his arm cut off and his two legs cut off, and he's saying, it's just a flesh wound. It's just a flesh wound.
Exactly.
It sort of seems like that's what's going on with your party right now. Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio are both saying it's just a flesh wound, we're going on. But you look at what's happening with Donald Trump, and it doesn't look like anyone's going on very much further.
Ben Carson's still in.
Yeah, well, look, Carson needs to go. That's the bottom line. There's no rationale for the Carson campaign, period, right? But on the Democratic side, this thing still got some gas in it, too. If you noticed Hillary's comments last night, they were aimed at the populist left, not at the center of the election. That's because Bernie Sanders still has got energy, and he's got the ability to tap a button and raise $3 or $4 million bucks a pop. And as long as he's there, his cash on hand may be higher in April than that of Hillary Clinton. That's a lesson from 2008. I'm sure she hasn't forgotten with Barack Obama.
You said it, Joe.
That's money.
Bernie Sanders has money.
Well, capitalism,
as long as you have money,
builds a lot of wealth, and people give it to him to run on a socialist ticket.
It used to be that party primaries were a winnowing process, so that people who lost, they lost support, they lost money, and they lost momentum. And now, you know, if you have enough people giving $27 on the internet, you can go on forever. And that's kind of what's going on here.
I mean, Joe, that's what you should actually ask Kasich is how's his dough? You know, I think that Carson's been able to raise you know, Carson's been able to raise money. Rubio's, I think, raising money, a lot of money going into Marco Rubio's super PAC. There's a ton of early vote already banked in Florida. It's the seminal decision point in this race. Over 300,000 Republicans have voted. That's 40-some% of those didn't vote in 2012. So Florida and Ohio are the pivot points in this race. But in the next 2 weeks, there are a bunch of states like Kansas and Maine and, frankly, even Puerto Rico, which, you know, may sound like not significant, but it's got 23 delegates. Marco Rubio could win there. That matters for the I-4 corridor vote in Florida. That could reset a little bit of the narrative of this race. So there are three guys out of here to watch. It's hard for Kasich to make the case that he's the fourth, and that's what I'd ask him this morning.
It's fun to run for president, I think.
Oh, man, it's hard.
It's hard, but,
yeah, you got people showing up for you,
remember Pat Paulson became a big comedian because, and I'll never forget the correspondence dinner. Someone showed, Kim Kardashian was in the front table, and there were photographers everywhere. Rick Santorum walked up, and the place went wild. It got to go up and meet Kim Kardashian, and I thought that was fitting that those two were together. But it's fun. You're a big star. Who was Rick Santorum? He lost the last Senate race, didn't he? Suddenly he gets to go to...
He's running again, or he was running.
Yeah, but I think these guys,
at the correspondence
it's
dinner.
for them. It's not for the country, and it's not for the party half the time.
Somebody said it's on your obituary that you were a former presidential candidate.
Look,
a lot of books got a show on Fox.
Cutting the cynicism aside, aside, though, guys, I mean, anyone who puts themselves through this process, you got to look at it and just say, look, thanks for service to country, because it really sucks. It's not easy. It's really hard.
Well,
and most of these guys.
Jeb Bush was. They talked about how classy and dignified it was when he saw that it wasn't going to happen. Jeb Bush had 3 times the number of some of these guys, or more, or he had a lot more money. He had a lot of reason to stay in. He had the class to exit when it was time, and when these guys are hanging on too long.
And look, Trump's got super luxury, right? He doesn't have to raise any dough. He's got 2 757s. He flies back to Mar-a-Lago or New York City to sleep every night. Look, that's a pretty nice formula for a presidential candidate, because most presidential candidates I've worked for and that Steve's worked for, it's a lot of Holiday Inns in Pella, Iowa, and crappy hotels in the Panhandle of Florida.
All bets are off this year. This has been
a totally different world we're in.
Nothing's been typical.
I just have one Bernie question, which is, assuming that Hillary gets the nomination, does Bernie ultimately step in line, not only endorse her, but somehow get this pack of people to really authentically actually vote for her? Or does that not happen?
No, I think he will. I mean, one of the things that you see on our side a little bit more than on the Republican side is it's not quite as vitriolic. I mean, Bernie Sanders is running a campaign on the issues that Bernie Sanders cares about, but he's not really attacking Hillary much.
Steve, they'll all go to Hillary, but the excitement gap is the other,
and,
the other side.
And there has been about a 25% decline in Democratic turnout.
They might not go out. They may move to her, but they may not go and vote on voting.
The most excitement gap-filling thing in this race might not be Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. It might be Donald Trump. So if you think about who the voters are that Hillary needs to turn out, she needs to turn out, African American and Hispanic voters and young voters.
It might be Donald Trump or Scalia might be the most exciting.
But I think the guys,
Scalia is a very exciting thing for Democrats.
The intensity
listen
gap.
to other people once in a while. Yeah, okay, go ahead. You're talking. Did you hear what we just said?
I did. Yeah. No, I was going to give you two cents on just what I think that Sanders kind of gets out of this, which is at the end of the day, I think he's going to ask for something at the convention, and he's going to ask for a couple of things in the platform that'll probably pull the party leftward. But Steve's point that I think you're going to have a fully engaged, fully mobilized, highly motivated general election, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders, is a fact of life. So I suspect that the people that are out-motivated for Sanders will ultimately transfer to Clinton at the end of the day.
You're going to have Republicans who are going to be walking away from Donald Trump and voting for Hillary Clinton. So I mean, there's going to be enthusiasm.
There's an anybody but Clinton side and there's an anybody but Trump side. So we'll see how it works itself out. I don't know yet. Thanks, Steve and Phil. Thank you. I know it's hard on a remote.
Sorry about that.
Steve, no, that's okay. No, I mean it's hard for you to get in, and it's your right to. And we all interrupt each other. Believe me, that's all I hear about. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks, man. See ya.